Hey there, folks. This is Paige with the Missouri River Bird Observatory, and I'm here with our field project leader, Erik. Today, I'm going to talk to Erik about MRBO's Grassland Nest Monitoring Project. First off, Erik, how are you doing today?
I'm great, thanks for asking.
Good. Now tell us a little bit about the goals of the Nest Monitoring Project. What are you trying to accomplish?
Well, the goal of the project is to measure the effects of patchburn grazing management practices on nest success of grassland birds.
And what exactly is patchburn grazing?
Well, patchburn grazing is a prairie management technique that uses rotated prescribed burns and cattle or other grazing livestock in order to keep vegetation growth restricted and the prairie ecosystem flourishing.
And how does patchburn grazing benefit grassland species?
Well, let's say you are a grasshopper sparrow and you prefer less thickly packed vegetation for your foraging and nesting. The cattle grazing the land ideally will eat some of the grass, making it less thick. Also, the burns should thin out the vegetation and create more areas for the grasshopper sparrow to forage and nest successfully.
Cool. So, why is it so important to study nesting and foraging habitat for grassland birds?
Great question, Paige. It's important to study grassland birds and their nesting habitats because we've seen drastic declines in grassland bird populations both in Missouri and North America as a whole. This is likely due to a dramatic habitat loss, and so if we can find a way for the land to benefit birds and ranchers at the same time, we can help increase bird habitat and also increase their population while keeping the economy in mind as well.
Neat! And who wouldn't want more baby grassland birds hopping around, right? Tell us more about the study. How is it conducted?
There are two types of units in this study: a treatment unit and a control unit. The treatment unit has cattle present during every other season, while the control unit doesn't have cattle present ever. In addition, each unit typically has 1/3 of its area burned every year, so that in 3 years the entire prairie was burned. So, for the study, both units get prescribed burns in the same way. The one difference is the presence of cattle.
And where exactly are these units located? And when do you conduct the searches?
Yeah, good question. So, we use two prairies in Southwest Missouri here, and one of them is Wakanta Prairie, which is what's pictured right behind us in the setting. And we've been conducting this study from May to July since 2016.
Tell us more about what it's like out on the prairie during that time of year. Is it like it is now in November?
No, not at all. It's obviously much hotter during the summer, and adding the fact that there isn't any shade in it, can be a real doozy out here. But the amount of critters and life occurring out here in the summer, it's much higher compared to that of late fall. At this time, most of the plants have gone dormant. You can kind of see behind it's all kind of yellows and kind of browns, and so a lot of these plants have gone dormant for the rest of the year. But during the time of the nesting study, the plants have burst into bloom. It's always amazing to see how fast the plants grow, too. Especially in the burned areas, I like to watch some of the plants grow in 3 feet in a matter of three months. It's amazing.
Wow. Interesting. And how exactly do you find the nests in that dense vegetation? What is your methodology or set of procedures?
Well, we always have our eyes glued to the ground in low vegetation because that's where all the nests are. But there's a variety of ways to look for these nests. The main way that I like to look for them is by walking with a long stick, kind of like a fishing rod, in front of me, and I wave it to my left and right, brushing the grasses and plants with the stick. Essentially, it's creating an extension of my arm that I can move the vegetation and provoke a bird who's on its nest, hopefully to fly from it. And so, as long as I've seen the area that the bird flew from, I can concentrate my search in that area.
Sounds like it could be fun.
Sometimes.
Are the nests difficult to find? What species nest is the most difficult to find?
Some nests are harder than others. The hardest nests to find are the ones that are really close to the ground and will use substrate that can be found everywhere on the prairie.
And why are their nests so difficult to find?
Okay, so let's take the eastern meadowlark as an example. They nest They like to nest under clumps of grass that can be found almost everywhere on the prairie. So it could take days to check the whole prairie checking under every single clump. Additionally, even when you walk by the nest with the stick that I like to use, they won't flush from the nest. Um, and lastly, even when you are if you're remotely nearby the nest, the parents will constantly make calls and won't return to the nest until you're far from the nest.
And what do you do when you find a nest? How do you record it?
Well, we use a system in our phone that allows us to record the location, taking GPS points, and we also collect a variety of information about the nest. So we'll take photos, we'll mark the nest physically, and we'll do that by placing black tape around the nest on surrounding plants.
And then what happens after that? What do you do from there?
We'll come back and check on the nest periodically and check on the progression of the nest until it has been determined to either be a failure or a success.
Okay, let's pause to look at some cute pictures of fledgling birds that the field technicians have gathered over the years. So cute. Okay, now back to the study. Are there any particular species you are focusing on, aka target species?
Yes, so our target species are eastern meadowlark, like the one I talked about earlier, dick thistle, field sparrow, Henslow's sparrow, grasshopper sparrow, northern bobwhite, Bell's vireo, loggerhead shrike, and greater prairie chicken.
Those are some neat birds. Okay, so we're monitoring the nest success of those species in response to patchburn grazing management. When is a nest considered successful?
So, if a nestling fledges the nest, meaning leaves the nest, then the nest is considered a success. For this to have happened, the bird must have completed a full nest cycle, which comprises of building, incubating, and then the hatching nestling period. We will find nests at different stages, but they all have to meet the same standard to be considered a successful nest.
It's really too bad not all nesting attempts can be successful. What are some things that cause nests to fail?
There are a whole bunch of things that can cause a nest to fail. The most common cause is reptile and mammal predation. However, some nests fail due to intense weather, poor construction of the nest, abandoning the nest before it's finished, and many more. One noteworthy cause is cowbird parasitism.
I'm so happy you mentioned brood parasitism, and we'll get back to that. But first, what are some common predators for nests out on the prairie?
Well, we don't have a camera out here to really know for certain, but it's pretty evident that snakes are the primary predator, but as well as glass lizards, raccoons, coyotes, and many more.
Okay, back to brood parasitism. What exactly is it?
So, a few birds, like the brown-headed cowbird, they use a unique nesting strategy where instead of making nests and raising their young themselves, they lay their eggs in other birds' nests for them to raise. This is called brood parasitism.
Fascinating. Okay, that's all the time we have for today. Erik, thank you for answering all of my questions. But don't worry, there are more to come. Join us again for part 2 of our interview with Field Project Leader Erik when we talk about all the wonderful ways that we can use this wonderful information. Oh my gosh, our stand is falling down. So windy today. Okay, bye everyone. Join you for part 2.